First day of term for week 8. Done and completed. So starting off the week, pretty much like I had clinicals. So the way my schedule has been working for this term, on Mondays we have clinicals which start at 6:45 at, I ain't gonna say the name of the hospital, but 6:45 at a hospital that's about 20 minutes away from me. And then on Tuesdays, we have our online class. This is my Med Surg 2 clinical at the hospital. So on Tuesdays, we have pediatrics, and then we also have community. And both of those classes are online classes. I do pediatrics from 9 to about 11:30, and then I have a small break from about 11:30 to 1. Yeah, it's about an hour and a half break, 11:30 to 1, because community class starts at 1 and it ends at about 2:45. So that'll be my Tuesday, and then Wednesday we have our days off, and then Thursday we have our med surg class, and then Fridays we have our pediatrics clinical. So for today, this was probably about my third time back at the hospital today, and so I've done 3 rounds of clinicals so far at the hospital, because even though we're in week 8, we split our clinical sites up. We had to go to one site, which was an assisted living facility, and then we had to go to this site, which is pretty much a full-fledged hospital with an emergency room, an ICU, med-surg unit, and a rehabilitation unit. So we're finally at the hospital stages, and I've been able to go through the rounds of each different department of the hospital. So week 1, when I started at the hospital, which was not week 1, it was actually like week 5 of term 4. That was just our first day at the hospital, but I got to do the emergency room that day. And so I got to see all the different triage stuff, and I got to see how the patients come in, how they get triaged, diagnosed, sent over to the doctor, and, then we start pulling lab, depending on whatever labs we have to get done, and then we'll probably start administering medications even before the doctor put the order in, and then the doctor goes back, put the order in, and now. Even though that's not technically the right way to do things, you're not supposed to be like pulling meds and pushing meds and stuff until the doctor puts the order in. But the nurses that I were working with, they were like so good that they were able to predict what the labs were that were going to need to be drawn, and the medications that were going to need it to be provided to the patient based off of the presenting diagnosis. So that was my emergency room experience. And then week 6, I got to go up to the med surg floor, and this is where I performed the whole CPR thing. That was where I got to do, I saw a full cold, I got to perform CPR. Unfortunately, the patient expired, and that was just like a whole nother situation. Check my last video out for that story. And then we got today where I got to go to the intensive care unit. So I feel like I have just been thrown into every department, and everything that I've been fearful of, I've got thrown right into it. Drawing blood, thrown right into it. Giving CPR in a full cold when the patient doesn't have a heartbeat or isn't breathing, thrown right into it. So it's been a lot, but I will say that I am actually finding joy in facing the task that I am fearful of, and also finding confidence and a love for the task that I found or psyched myself out to be difficult or whatever. So I'm actually finding a real love for it. I'm loving med surg. It's very difficult. I loved the ICU, and I loved the emergency room. So today I was under a lot of stress this morning. Site today. Now, I'm not proud of myself at all, because I'm literally on thin ice. I'm at a point where I cannot be late to any other clinical or miss any other clinicals, because I missed 2 clinical sites, 2 clinical days, not sites, days. And if you miss more than 2 days of the clinical sites, which is 20 percentile of your grade, it's an automatic fail. So I was actually leaving work this morning or whatever. So, and I'm on thin ice at my job, can't be late no more, everything like that. So I'm keep being very candid about what I have going on here. Can't be late there, can't miss another day, can't leave early, nothing. So I did a double last night, and I was not able to get out of work at 6 o'clock in the morning to be to the hospital site by 6:45. I actually did not get out of work until 6:45, where they actually let me go a little bit early. So, because we're not supposed to clock out till 7:30. So I still got to leave a little bit early, but it was with permission. So that was that. But I had to call my clinical instructor and let her know, like, okay, I'm running late. I'm just getting off work. Thank you, God, she was understanding today. But I'm running late. I will be there within 20 minutes. She told me, okay, after 7:15, I have to send you away. I'm like, okay, more than enough time. Boom, let me rush. So now I'm like, I'm leaving work. I'm flying down the highway. I'm like, okay, all right, let me drive safe or whatever. So I was under a lot of high anxiety because I'm really, really thinking about this. I'm already late. I can't miss no more things. And like, it was actually like on my mind throughout the entire time of the day because sometimes I have a difficult time just putting things in the past and just moving on. That's just the way my anxiety works sometimes. Something I'm working on. It is what it is. Something that definitely can be overcome, but you know, the way feelings work and things like that, it just is what it is. So once I got to school, I actually got to school at like 7:11. So I called my instructor. I let her know that, hey, I'm downstairs waiting in our meeting room. Where can I meet you guys at? She ended up saying that we're going to come down and get you. They showed up within like a matter of minutes. Like, it wasn't less than 5 minutes. It was, no, probably like 2 minutes later, they popped up in the room or whatever. I'm like, oh, that was fast. So, you know, I'm just very thankful that she let me stay because if your boy got sent home, your boy was going to fail this goddamn class. And I cannot afford to be failing anything based off of no goddamn clinicals. Now, the only reason I even missed the clinicals was because they sent us to a site that was like 45 minutes to an hour away and we had to be there by 6:30. Meaning I had to leave the house at 5:30. And one time, okay, so first day I missed, I actually just woke up late. It just was what it was. I had a missed day. The second day that I missed, which was like week 4, I believe. It was like week 4. It was due to an accident that was on a highway and I was just stuck in traffic. And then I'm texting the instructor, come to find out I had her wrong number. So now I had to like call my classmates and things like that, let her know, like let them know to please tell the teacher like what's going on with me. But by the time I got there, it was like an hour late, 7:30, whatever. I had to get sent home. So that's what even got me to the 2 days that I even missed. Very disappointed, not happy about it, but I'm still was excelling in the class. I got an A in the class. I have a 90 average on my test. Like, okay. So I'm doing good in that department, but this showing up on time department really, really has been struggling with this term 4. So, like I said, driving to work, like I was really, really anxious and really getting there and things like that. I had all this shit on my mind or whatever. So get to the get to the unit today. I meet up with my instructors and they take me around to the unit. The whole time I'm thinking, thank you, God, they're not sending your boy home. Okay, I hope like this fucking lateness does not affect me later. But you know what? If she let me stay, we just gonna take that as we're just gonna have a complete full day today. And that's just like the mindset that I had to put myself in order to accomplish my task as a nurse on the floor today. Student nurse on the floor today. Look at me calling my damn self a nurse. But yes, so I got to go to the ICU today where I got to shadow one of the nurses on the ICU. He wasn't charge nurse now, but he still was a very, very good nurse and he very knowledgeable about his patients and very caring and knew what he needed to do as a nurse. He actually was working there for about 30 years. Look, whoop-dee that. Your boy will be 30 next year. I'm 29 right now. So you've been there my entire life is pretty much what I said to him. So we had 2 patients because I believe the ICU only had about 5 patients in the ICU at the moment. But we had 2 patients, an older male and an older female. The male, I don't particularly remember his diagnosis, but I remember his vital signs vividly. So his heart rate was extremely tachycardic. He was ranging back and forth and fluctuating between like 180s up to 200. So his blood pressure was also extremely high. He was in like the 164s over like 90 something. It was just like ridiculously high. His respirations were out of range. He was at like a 26, 27 of respirations. I believe I know it has something to do with his breathing, so it might have been COPD because the man had a CPAP on his face that was extremely tight, and he had to have a skin barrier right here so that the mask does not press down too hard on his face and bruise his skin. So once he did that, so these were pretty much the conditions that the man was under. But the vital signs we administered based off of the heart rate and the blood pressure, we administered antihypertensives, antiarrhythmics. There was also a clot buster anticoagulant administered. That was the Lovinac. So I do remember the Lovinac being administered, the anticoagulant. And aminoodorol. Oh my God, the generic names of these medications are really, really difficult to pronounce sometimes. But aminoodorol or something like that. Pronouncing it really, really badly. But once we administered that, he still was a little bit tachycardic. But the nurse was like, okay, give it about 20 minutes to a half hour to let it kick in. We're going to see what his ranges go down to. So I want to say 9:45 or maybe earlier. Yeah, about 9:45. Yeah, that had happened. And then I want to say like around 10 o'clock, we checked vitals again. And his heart rate did not decrease that much. It decreased down to like 144, and it was fluctuating between like the 140s and the 160s. Now that was better than 180s and 190s, but it was still extremely high. Now his blood pressure dropped significantly, actually. So we went down from like the 160s all the way down to like a 107/84, which was okay. I wasn't mad at those numbers. Those numbers were a lot better, but we still were concerned about the heart rate. So he contacted his cardiologist, and there was a cardiologist consult going on that had to be done with the patient, where the cardiologist had to come assess the patient and things like that. So all of that went down with that patient. And then so I was not able to see the cardiologist assessment because at that point I was sent on break. But by the time I got back, we were still managing the patient. I got to perform an EKG on the patient, and administered the Lovinac through to his subcutaneous in his stomach. So giving needles and giving injections is not as difficult as I thought it would be. It's actually quite fun stabbing a little bit with the needles. But that was that, and the EKG was performed. I got to perform that as well. So pretty much, you put the stickers on your right arm here, and then bam, 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 and then the legs down there, and get the scan or whatever. So I really do have a difficult time reading the heart monitors. Oh my God, those things are so. I still got a lot of learning to do. When you see all them squiggly lines, I just know something about a P wave and a QRS and then da da da. A lot of stuff. I will make sure I cover it the best at once I gotta go over it again and remember it for a test or whatever. But that was that. So that was pretty much like a little bit of information on that guy. On the older woman that I had. Oh my God, I had a very sweet old woman. She was, I believe, 87 years old. And she had a lot of different diagnoses and a lot of different presenting things. But the main two things that I do remember were the bladder cancer and the uterine cancer. And that she has been battling cancer for the last 20 years, which is crazy to me and like mind-blowing. Like, wow, how have you been battling cancer for the past 20 years? That means you've had it since your 60s, and now you're 87. So with this particular patient, she was a full cold, and her vitals and stuff were very stable. And the only thing we had to do with her was administer like her regular meds that were already scheduled. But there also was going to be a meeting with her kids. Her kids were supposed to be coming in to see her, and her kids want her to continue treatment and continue to fight. And they actually were trying to get her a bed on the rehabilitation floor where she'll do some therapy to try to get her strength back up. But the woman is opposed. She completely opposes the idea about it, and she doesn't want to continue this fight. Now, she's not sad about it. She was very, in her sound mind. She was very, knowledgeable about what's going on with her. And she did not want to continue to fight. She actually said that she wants to go home. She wants to be comfortable. She wants to be in her bed. She doesn't want to continue this in a hospital bed. Can we bring in the hospice nurse so that she can talk about the hospice options and continuing like that? And then she also wanted to speak with her children and let her children know what her plans were moving forward about her end-of-life stages. These things I used to find very difficult to talk about, and I used to get very uncomfortable discussing death and just all of that stuff. But you realize that it really is a cycle of life, and especially going into this nursing industry and the nursing field and things, it is something that I do realize that I am going to be faced with regularly. Like, I'm probably not going to be able to count like how many times I am faced with this, because it is something that we do go through as humans, and the whole cycle of life and all that stuff. So, I was very not in my emotions, but I cared. I felt that real care, like, for that woman. I'm like, wow, she really is just facing this, and she's ready to do her way, and so as long as she's comfortable, like, that's what was like our main thing. So, like, we gave her her regular meds, and she didn't want to eat her breakfast and stuff, so we just had to care for her, make sure she got the things that she needed. And the hospice nurse actually came to speak to the and while she was speaking to the woman, I didn't even sit to hear like the conversation, whatever. It was like a private conversation. She went into the room, but the nurse did come out and say, like, okay, well, we're not getting her a bed on here, and if we can't get her out by today, we're pushing to get her home by tomorrow. Now, the thing with like hospice care is like you need someone there with you to still care for you. Like, you might get a nurse to come out to see you, but you're not probably going to have a nurse there at all times. So like that conversation with her children was something that did need to be had. And so I didn't really get to see or hear like much more about that, because at that point it was lunch and it was time for us to have a post conference with our instructors and discuss our day. Pretty much, we were supposed to give like a report back and stuff to our instructors and discuss the different things that we experienced on the unit. So that was pretty much my clinical day. I had a really, really good day. It does ignite the passion for this career. The more and more I go on the floor and the more I introduce myself as a nurse to patients. And it becomes easier to like just introduce yourself to people and put yourself in this, stature, in this position. Because when I first started, my natural self that I normally am on the floor, like with my patients that I'm normally used to dealing with as a mental health tech, or, it's different. I'm coming in as a nurse. I'm not a tech no more. So it feels a little bit different. It feels a little bit like sometimes imposter syndrome, especially when I feel like I'm not well studied or I didn't have like a really good study week or things. But, I must say it is these types of things that make me love what I am going into, and really, really love that I chose to become a nurse other than anything else. So that was the bulk of my day. And yeah, I had a really, really good day today. A really, really good day. I'm hoping that the next time I go to this hospital that I get to be in a different department, because so far, like I said, I've done the emergency room, I've done the med-surg floor, and now today I've done the intensive care unit. So I believe I'll probably be put on the rehabilitation floor the next time I go, which will be next Monday. So my next clinical isn't until Friday, which is a pediatrics clinical, and maybe I'll come on here and tell you guys all about that. I believe I have no, we actually don't have a test this week. I thought I had a pediatrics exam tomorrow, but I actually don't. It's next week. So yeah, I'll come back and keep you guys updated, posted, maybe when I got some more studying to present, or just when I just want to come up here and talk about my day, whatever I experienced at the hospital, on the floor, in class, as a student nurse. I'll talk to you guys later. I got some stuff I gotta go handle, and everybody have a great day, and till next time.